Hey everybody, it's Danny with Gardening for Gains, and welcome back to another episode of Plant Rant. Today we're going to do a real quick one so we can get Kyla inside so she doesn't freeze her butt off. But we're out here pruning up some raspberries, and we're eventually going to get to a blackberry as well. So right here we have, this is a golden raspberry. It's a double N, I think is the variety. And then these going along down the line are Boyne raspberries. And then ending over here with, I think it's either Apache or Natchez Blackberry. So when you're, obviously last year kind of let everything take off and just go a little wild. So what you want to do with raspberries is get them within like a 1.5 to maybe 2 foot range. So that's the first thing we're going to do is just kind of clip away some of the smaller ones that definitely aren't going to bring as much value to us. And you also want to look kind of for about 6 inches in between each variety. So I'm just going to cut out the smaller ones down here. And you also want to cut out any dead wood. So what you want it to look like is like a really red kind of wood, like it looks alive. So we're just going to go in here and just keep clearing all this out. And just remember the rules of like about 6 inches in between, and then we want to shoot for about 2 foot. So we got 1, 2, so we don't want anything about past that. And then just come in here. You want to cut it down as close to the roots as possible, and what that's going to do is just send the carbohydrates back down to the root system. And actually that's why we've waited until beginning of February to do this, is because as the season goes on and you know, as it gets colder, there's sugars and carbohydrates stored within the shoots. So obviously this is very alive, and then you know, it's going to send the energy back down to the roots. So that's why we're doing this right now, and this will kind of prime everything for a really good spring harvest. And last year I was just kind of nervous. It was the second year of having this thing in here, or I guess second summer, and we actually did start getting some fruit on it. And this was the only means that we had to trellis it. So another, not really a mistake that we made, but just the way it happened. So I'm going to cut this out. And surprisingly enough, like that twine was enough to really get us a lot of fruit. You know, we consistently would have, you know, half a pound to a pound at all times through the end of the season. So I'm just going to go through here real quick, get rid of the rest of this dead and small stuff. Basil's helping out, trying to clear it out. There you go, baby. And these are thornless raspberries, so we're good on that. So they're not going to get hurt, and Twiggy used to run around with rose branches anyways, so I think she'll be all right. So obviously we're going to learn from this round. You know, we definitely I didn't take good care of this, and just not, you know, just kind of out of ignorance, and you know, just hoping that everything will kind of grow the right way in the long term, without much maintenance from me. But that is not the case with gardening ever. So you know, you just got to stay up to date on what you need to do, and just, you know, continue to do the research. And raspberries are something I've, you know, really grown, or I've always liked, but it's something that I want to continue to grow. You know, it's kind of part of my future plan, you know, maybe 10, 15 years down the road even. You know, hopefully not that far, but realistically speaking, it might be. But, you know, I've been doing a lot of research on it. So once you get done pruning thinning everything out, then you want to kind of cut everything up to about 36-inch height, and that's just going to promote, you know, a lot more lateral growth. And loppers might not be the best tool for this, so I also got some hand shears. So with this, basically, you just want to cut below any flowering bud, and that is going to promote more lateral growth and also encourage top growth. So, you know, just kind of going back to what we talked about, so you just want to get a good clean cut right above the node there. I'm just going to go through and do this real quick on all of these. So you want to just keep that in mind about the, you know, 24 to maybe 30 inch height would be just about right. So just below the flowering nodes here, like you can see right here, this is a flower that had bared fruit, so you want to cut below that, and that's where the true growth is going to come next year. Alright, so just about finished with this monster. And so, as I mentioned earlier, you know, we didn't really trellis this with anything, so typically what you're going to do is run a post at the end, or like a V-shaped trellis or something like that, and then run some wire maybe at like 24-inch height, and then also around like 36 to maybe 40-inch height. And that's just going to give it enough support so that when these grow out, you can the plants can also lean on that. So these really grew kind of strong and got a lot of support with, you know, just being able to grow kind of unbridled. You know, it was forced to adapt to the situation, and you know, it's definitely a lot stronger plant than I would have expected. Or like as you can see over here, these are a little bit more flimsy, and you know, they just grew a little bit taller just because you know, they weren't growing from last year, so a lot of this is new growth, and these are just newer plants, and these also have a little bit sharper thorns on them. So definitely smart to wear gloves, especially in the cold. But that's just the pain of gardening. That's all right to me. It's just part of the fun, kind of having to dodge all that. So right here we've got some laterals coming off of the main branch, and I'm just going to leave those because I'm actually not really sure what I should do with that. So what I'm going to do is just kind of clip down from the end of the leaves and to a node, and we're going to just kind of test that out and see what happens. I think that you probably want to trim that down just so you're focusing all of the energy on one cane. So I think that I'm right in saying that, so what I'm going to do is trim some of the other ones up, but we'll just leave this guy here for a test. So the second Boyne raspberry in. So I'm just going to kind of go down the line here real quick, finish this up. And again, we're trimming to about 36-inch height, so maybe like belly button-ish to waist. And I'm just going to cut that one out. Cut that one out. And then this one we're going to trim. And you should be able to get in there with your hand pruners. You know, they're pretty tough, so just clip it away. Again, back over here. Any of the small growth here, you just want to clip that back. I mean, that's not going to turn into anything if you let it go, but we just had to keep that energy flowing. I'm going to cut that one back as well. And this is actually all part of the same one, so we're going to cut this back. You want to try to make a real clean cut so you don't have do stuff like that, but that's just going to promote a lot better growth. So get a nice clean cut, about 36 inches up. Again. And the last one here. All right, and then so we're on over here to the Blackberry, and as you can see, this thing is just an absolute mess. So I'm going to try to get to the bottom of this situation. What I'm going to do is just kind of trim it down to one single stem. So we're going to cut a lot of this out. And we're just going to really thin her out. So, you know, it's kind of the same as the raspberry plants. We're going to trim everything back. We're going to cut out all this excess and get it down to the main stem. Which a blackberry, it does grow a little bit differently. So, as you can see at the crown, we've got this main stem coming up here. So I think we're going to leave that one. And then you just want to kind of open that up. So since we have such a strong branch coming out here, just coming up straight from the bottom, cutting this all out. I'm just going to take this out. And then again, cutting this down. So now we've kind of trimmed this down to where the point where we've got 1, 2 branches here, and that will be plenty. So I think what we might just do with this is beef this fencing up a little bit. It's getting kind of ratchet as the winter goes on here, but kind of beef this up, maybe weave some steel piping or like aluminum piping or something through the top, and then we can kind of just trellis the blackberries from there. So again, we're just going to clip this back. You know, I'm thinking about right here. That way it's got a good ways to grow and still being supported on the little trellis that I rigged up. So on this one, we're just going to actually cut it back down a little bit lower. So and that'll be fine. You know, you don't really want to. This is a really temporary trellising system we rigged up with some bamboo. So we're going to get that trellised, run some wire for the raspberries, and then we should have a really good season with the raspberries. So the goldens are going to be producing like crazy, and then should start seeing some production from the boyne as well. So I hope this helped. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment, or feel free to drop me a line on any social media channel. And as always, I appreciate it.